Losing a loved one can be an incredibly difficult time, and dealing with financial matters can make it even more stressful. But understanding what happens to debt after someone passes away can help take away some of that stress. Let's talk about what happens to debt after death. When a person dies, their debts become the responsibility of their estates. The executor of the estate is a person responsible for dealing with the will and the estate after the person's death. And they're liable to pay inheritance tax on the property that forms part of the estate. They will use the assets to pay off the deceased debts. If 2 or more people have taken out a loan in their names, the outstanding debt will pass in full to the surviving people who took out the loan. If there is a mortgage, then the surviving spouse, registered civil partner, or cohabiting partner must pay that mortgage but is not required to pay any of the deceased other debts. If the property is owned as joint tenants, a surviving tenant automatically gets a deceased share of the joint tenancy property. If the property is owned as tenants in common, the share passes according to the deceased will, or, if there's no will, via intestacy rules. Intestacy rules are the legal rules that determine how a person's estate will be distributed if they die without a valid will or estate plan. Debt isn't inherited in the UK, which means that family, friends, or anyone else can't be responsible for the individual debts of the deceased. You're only responsible for the deceased person's debts if you had a joint loan or agreement or provided a loan guarantee. A personal credit card with an outstanding unpaid balance is an example of an individual debt. A common misconception is that any credit card debts are automatically written off, but any individual debts must be paid using the money that the deceased has left behind. Only if there isn't enough money in the estate may the debt be written off. If you're the executor of the will, you can contact the creditors and explain the situation, asking them to send a statement outlining anything still owed. Make sure that in the case of an individual debt, like a credit card debt, the bank immediately stops taking any scheduled direct debits from the deceased bank account. If it is a joint debt, then the name of the deceased can be removed from the debt. Remember to check paper records, computers, memory sticks, and cloud-based storage for digital versions of documents. Once the executor of the will has probate or grant of administration, the money from the deceased estate can be used to pay off any outstanding debts. It can be quite a daunting and lengthy process, so you may want to get advice or speak to a professional for help. There are various debt charities that you could speak to for help, like Step Change or National Debt Line.